Adversity Quotient, Turning Obstacles into Opportunities by Paul G. Stoltz. How should we respond to bad events? This book is an innovative work in the field of psychology. Its first edition was published in 1997. Since then, the concept of adversity quotient, AQ, has entered the public's view. Now, we have the latest upgraded edition, published in 2019. What is AQ? AQ refers to the ability to see opportunities in adversity and even turn crisis into opportunity. Nowadays, besides IQ and EQ, AQ is also an important indicator of a person's potential. The author of this book is Dr. Paul Stoltz. Dr. Stoltz is the founder of the AQ theory. He proposed the AQ theory more than 30 years ago. He is not just a scholar who stays in his study all day doing theoretical research. Over the years, he has been promoting and practicing the AQ theory across various industries. Many multinational companies and Ivy League universities are his collaborators. Through interactions with thousands of people, he has developed an AQ model that can have a powerful impact in practice, successfully helping many individuals and organizations overcome adversity and reach the next peak. After listening to today's audio, you will fully understand this AQ model, which has been honed through countless trials. It's not just people in business who need AQ. In families, the AQ theory can help parents better support their children in facing setbacks and difficulties. In the field of education, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, uses AQ tests to screen participants for its selected global entrepreneurship programs. In the following time, I will divide the key points of the AQ book into 3 parts for you. 1. Understanding the use of AQ. What exactly is the use of AQ? 2. Assessing your AQ score. How do we evaluate our own AQ? 3. Improving your AQ. How can we enhance our AQ and help others improve theirs to achieve greater success in life? Let's first look at the first part. What is the use of adversity quotient, AQ? Generally, a well-founded theory is supported by a large amount of scientific research. It must be proven feasible within the discipline before being applied on a larger scale. From the origins of AQ theory, we can see this process. Dr. Paul Stoltz, the author, tells us that AQ has 3 very important pillars: cognitive psychology, new health theory, and neuroscience. On one hand, he draws heavily from the latest scientific research in these 3 areas. On the other hand, over the years, he has continuously conducted surveys, training, and interactions with thousands of people across various industries. Combining theory with practice, he ultimately developed a comprehensive AQ theory and model. So, what exactly are the uses of these 3 pillars of AQ? Cognitive psychology. In cognitive psychology, there's a famous concept called learned helplessness. This concept helps us understand why some people choose to give up or quit when faced with challenges, while others choose to tackle them head-on. There's a well-known experiment related to learned helplessness conducted by Martin Seligman at the University of Pennsylvania over 30 years ago, involving dogs and electric shocks. The dogs were divided into 3 groups. The first group was subjected to mild electric shocks but could stop them by pressing a lever with their noses. These dogs quickly learned how to stop the shocks. The second group received the same shocks but had no way to stop them, so they had to endure the pain. The third group was a control group that was just restrained without receiving shocks. The next day, Seligman put all 3 groups of dogs into a box where they could escape mild shocks. The results showed that the first group, which previously could control the shocks, quickly escaped. The control group also learned to escape quickly. However, the second group, which couldn't control the shocks before, simply lay down, whined, and did not attempt to escape. Seligman explained that the second group of dogs had developed a sense of helplessness from their inability to stop the shocks earlier, which destroyed their motivation to take action in the second experiment. He thus proposed the theory of learned helplessness. Learned helplessness is the idea that no matter what one does, it won't make a difference, which, when internalized, weakens one's sense of control over situations. What's more frightening about learned helplessness is that it not only affects oneself, but also influences others. Seligman and his colleagues' research indicated that young children are easily influenced by their parents and others. For example, a father who does everything for his daughter, not allowing her to solve her own problems, inadvertently instills a sense of helplessness in her. Similarly, if teachers attribute students' success or failure to stable traits like intelligence or personality, students can feel very helpless. However, if the problem is attributed to temporary factors like lack of effort or low motivation, the sense of helplessness isn't as strong. Seligman categorized these different attributes into pessimistic and optimistic explanatory styles. He pointed out that in the face of adversity, if one attributes it to personal or permanent reasons, it's a pessimistic explanatory style. Conversely, if the reasons given are temporary or external, it's an optimistic explanatory style. These different styles reflect how people respond to adversity. To further illustrate this point, Seligman conducted a large-scale, 5-year study involving thousands of insurance agents. He found that the more optimistic agents sold more policies, 88% more than the pessimistic ones. The pessimistic agents were 3 times more likely to give up than the optimistic ones. This reminds me of a popular saying in recent years: pessimists are often right, but optimists are often successful. Why are optimists often successful? After learning about learned helplessness, we know it's because optimists are more likely to attribute difficulties to external causes, making it easier to establish a sense of control. Once the sense of control is enhanced, they are less affected by learned helplessness. Many tools in the AQ theory teach us how to overcome helplessness and re-establish a sense of control. Health theory. The second pillar of AQ is a new health theory. In recent decades, more and more evidence has shown that the way a person responds to adversity is closely related to their physical and mental health. Madron, dean of the School of Pediatric Nursing at Yale University School of Medicine, conducted an experiment where he injected a certain amount of cancer cells into rats and divided them into 3 groups, similar to the dog experiment mentioned earlier. The first group learned control by pressing a lever to turn off the electricity. The second group learned helplessness because they couldn't turn off the electricity. The third group was a control group. Madron found that the second group, the learned helplessness group, had a cancer rate more than 2.5 times higher than the control group and about twice that of the first group, the control group. This experiment showed that cancer cell carriers with learned helplessness or lack of control are more likely to develop cancer. Not only this experiment, but recent developments in the emerging field of psychoneuroimmunology also study the relationship between human mental states and physical health. As one of the forefront directions in medicine, psychoneuroimmunology research is booming, with numerous studies indicating a reciprocal relationship between mental state and physical health. Poor mental states can harm physical health, while good mental states can promote it. Therefore, managing our mental state and emotions is crucial not only for our achievements, but also for our physical health. Neuroscience. The third pillar of AQ theory is neuroscience. Many people have heard of the theory that it takes 21 days to form a habit. However, Dr. Stoltz disagrees with this. He consulted Dr. Mark Navell, head of neurophysiology at UCLA Medical Center, about how long it takes to form a habit. Navell responded with a counter-question: how long did it take you to learn not to touch a hot stove? The answer was less than 100 milliseconds. From this, Stoltz proposed that AQ can also be changed instantly. When we touch a hot stove, our brain issues a loud alarm. Similarly, when we encounter adversity, it also serves as a loud alarm. Our brains instinctively respond to adversity, and this instinctive response can be changed instantly if the stimulus is strong enough, even in as little as 100 milliseconds. This point tells us that our habitual responses to adversity can be completely changed. When we learn new ways to deal with adversity, it may take repeated practice at first. During this process, our brain develops more dense and efficient neural pathways. As these pathways become more solid, new habits gradually form. Thus, when the alarm of adversity awakens the brain, the new coping methods will automatically appear. Now, let's move on to today's second key term: how to assess our AQ. The author of the book, Dr. Stoltz, after over 30 years of research and practice, established a four-dimensional AQ assessment model, abbreviated as CORE. These four dimensions are control, ownership, reach, and endurance. Remember these four dimensions as I will explain them one by one. The first dimension of the AQ assessment is control. Its keyword is feel. You can ask yourself this question: how much do you feel you can control adverse events? Clearly, this is a subjective feeling, but it directly affects our sense of autonomy. It might sound a bit mysterious: the more you feel you can control, the more you actually can control. Additionally, it's crucial to note that taking action itself increases our sense of control. So, action and the sense of control interact and can reinforce each other. For example, in the psychological treatment of depression, therapists often encourage clients to make small, easy changes in their actions, such as getting up on time the next day. When the patient takes action, their sense of control is enhanced. For instance, many people think about running for half an hour every day, but very few manage to stick with it for a long time. Studies show that if you start by committing to spend just 2 minutes a day putting on your running shoes, this simple action can increase your sense of control and help you stick with running. The second dimension is ownership. Ownership refers to a person's ability to take responsibility for the outcomes of events. The higher our ownership score, the more willing we are to take responsibility for the outcomes. When we are more willing to take responsibility, we can better cope with adversity. Regarding ownership, the renowned management expert Jim Collins wrote an interesting metaphor in his book Good to Great. He said good managers have a special ability: when things are going well, they look out the window; when things are not going well, they look in the mirror. This means that when things are successful, they attribute the success to external factors like luck. When things go wrong, they look in the mirror and find reasons within themselves. This is a manifestation of ownership. The third dimension is reach. Facing adversity, you can ask yourself, will this adversity affect other areas of my life? People with low AQ might let the negative impact of an adverse event spread to other aspects of their lives. For example, a bad meeting could ruin the entire day, or a trader might lose a lot of money after a morning argument with their spouse. Therefore, when adversity strikes, it's crucial to limit its impact range. Just like when a fire breaks out, the first thing firefighters do is to prevent the fire from spreading to other areas. This requires us to learn to build an emotional firewall and not amplify bad events in our minds. The fourth dimension is endurance. In this dimension, you need to ask yourself two questions: how long will the adversity last? How long will the cause of the adversity last? For example, if a teenager has poor math grades and always shrugs and says, "I can't help it, I'm just lazy. My dad says I inherited his laziness," it means he sees the problem as permanent. What is just a difficulty in learning math becomes a life disaster in his eyes. However, if this teenager believes his poor math grades are due to improper study methods, and once he finds better study methods, his math grades can improve, then the adversity is no longer seen as a long-term situation but a temporary challenge. You can imagine that the second mindset will make the child much more positive about studying math, and the math grades will likely improve more easily. Let's move on to today's third key term: how to improve your AQ and that of others. Even the best theories must be applied in practical work and life to benefit others. Dr. Stoltz developed a set of tools to improve AQ after years of research, called the LEAD Toolbox. The LEAD Toolbox is applied in 4 steps, conducted sequentially. 1. Listen to our reactions to adversity. 2. Explore our ownership of the results. 3. Analyze the evidence. 4. Do something. These 4 steps form a complete process for dealing with adversity. In explaining this part, I will intersperse a real story about Ray Dalio, the author of Principles and the founder of Bridgewater Associates. We all know that investment involves high uncertainty, and many people fail to recover from difficulties. but Ray Dalio managed to bounce back after bankruptcy. How did he face adversity? Let's examine the lead toolbox step by step. First step, listen to our reactions to adversity. In late 1982, in his early 30s, Dalio predicted the U.S. economy would collapse with a 75% probability, leading him to buy gold and bond futures. But he was very wrong. The next 18 years saw one of the most prosperous periods in U.S. economic history, and the stock market soared. Dalio lost a lot of money. He recalled, "My experience during this period was like constantly getting hit on the head with a baseball bat. Making such a huge mistake, especially in front of everyone, was extremely humiliating." Dalio's first reaction to adversity was being stunned, followed by feeling ashamed. Many people have similar first reactions to sudden adversity. However, according to the lead toolbox, Dr. Stoltz believes we can do better with some tools. The author suggests playing a game with us. When we notice adversity approaching, our brain should sound an alarm. For example, we can make a funny sound to express the arrival of adversity, like loudly saying bingo or making a comical noise. This has two benefits. 1. A funny sound or a humorous warning itself can change our psychological state, making us more positive in dealing with adversity. 2. When the brain sounds the alarm, it interrupts the subconscious automatic response. At this moment, we have an opportunity to judge whether the automatic response is a high IQ or low IQ response and adjust this response pattern. After receiving the adversity warning, we move to the second step, explore our ownership of the results. In this step, Dalio handled it well during his adversity. Due to significant losses, he couldn't afford to pay his employees, who gradually left one by one until his closest partner also left. In the end, he was alone. To make ends meet, he borrowed $4,000 from his father and sold his second car. Throughout this process, Dalio did not complain but took responsibility for the consequences. The second step of the lead toolbox suggests that in such situations, we shouldn't excessively blame ourselves. Excessive self-blame or shirking responsibility won't increase our sense of control. The most important thing is to be responsible for the part we can confirm, limit the impact, and then proceed to the third step of the lead toolbox. A remarkable thing happens: the moment we decide to take responsibility for the results, our sense of control immediately increases, prompting us to take action. Third step. Analyze the evidence. This is a process of questioning. The author distilled 3 questions we can ask ourselves. 1. What evidence suggests that the current situation is beyond my control? 2. What evidence suggests that the adversity will inevitably affect other aspects of my life? 3. What evidence suggests that the adversity will necessarily last for a long time? After significant losses and team disbandment, Dalio did not succumb. He sought factors he could still control, like reflecting on his mistakes and developing new clients, which he could control. Even in more dire adversities, one can still find a sense of control and meaning in life. Viktor Frankl, who survived Nazi concentration camps, later wrote that even in such dire conditions, people can find their own sense of control. He observed that those who lost hope and control in the camps mostly didn't survive, while those who believed they could survive and found their sense of control had much higher survival rates. Fourth step, do something. We've mentioned that taking action itself increases our sense of control, making action the most crucial step in overcoming adversity. Let's see the actions Dalio took during his adversity. He thoroughly reviewed and reflected on his mistakes, summarizing valuable experiences. He cultivated new clients and rebuilt his team. He also made better use of computers to aid in investment decisions. These steps helped him rise from the depths and achieve greater success. Dr. Stoltz found that through the lead toolbox, we can not only enhance our own AQ but also help others improve theirs. A key point in helping others out of adversity is clarifying our role. We are not advice givers or preachers, but questioners and guides. The author believes that traditional methods of giving advice or pushing others may have short-term effects but might revert over time. For long-term change, we must stimulate others' internal motivation. Each of us has internal resources to overcome adversity. Our job is to guide others to discover and utilize their internal resources using the lead toolbox. When using the lead toolbox to help others, a crucial reminder from the author is that the final action list should be created by them, not provided by us. Only such an action list is likely. All right, let's recap.